Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the first ever moist meter in progress. It's for Valorant, and the reason why this is in progress is because Valorant is currently in a closed beta where you have to play like a little fucking lottery to get a key through streams, which will touch on everything the good and bad about everything surrounding Valorant here, but I will not be assigning it a score since it is a beta and constantly evolving, so it just wouldn't really be fair to give it a score now when the full game down the line may come out and be totally different from everything I've talked about here. It could look like fucking Borderlands 4. So let's just start with the obvious. The first thing people do for Valorant is write it off as just calling it uninspired and lazy because it very clearly does draw from Counter-Strike and other games like Overwatch with the hero abilities, though I'd more compare it to Paladins, but probably only 15 people play Paladins these days, so that reference doesn't really do anything to give you a comparison, but it very clearly does borrow from a lot of things and try and improve them. Yes, the idea itself isn't the most inspired, however, it's the only actual competition to Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike has had a monopoly on that entire gameplay genre for a long time now, so I don't know why people are upset that there's competition now. Competition is always great for games because it forces the game to improve, to match the competition. It's back and forth, a little dick swinging contest. It makes the games get better. If Counter-Strike never has competition, there's no incentive for them to keep listening to the community and trying to make it better. But now that there is competition, there is that incentive to keep the game growing and keep listening. So even if Valorant sucks ass in your opinion, its existence is still good if you're a Counter-Strike fan. And I wouldn't say there's anything lazy about Valorant either, other than the aesthetic, which a lot of it is placeholders, but that's my biggest complaint, is the game I think looks like asshole. Half of the guns just look like carbon copy clones of each other. It's like impossible to tell what gun's on the ground because they just look the exact same unless you bought skin packs or something. The guns are just gross looking and the environments look bad. I just really don't like the art style. It's this weird blend of Team Fortress 2 and a mobile game that it's not growing on me at all. But the gameplay is where it really shines because I think the gameplay in Valorant is extraordinary. It is so rewarding to get a kill and have that little jingle play when you get your first kill, and it just keeps ramping up into this crescendo. Let's say you get a 3K, 4K, or even an ace. By the time you get that fifth kill, it's like a full little orchestra piece hitting you. It's like in Ocarina of Time when you open a chest and you get that really rewarding jingle. You get that for every kill, so it feels great. The gunplay is extremely tight. The hitboxes are very tight. I haven't had like any issues that I can recall with hit reg or anything like that. And it's just a real joy to play. And it's Counter-Strike that is watered down. Most guns have ADS in Valorant, whereas in Counter-Strike it was only a few. So there is things here that appeal to players that are new to the genre or just not very good at it and can't get used to spray patterns. As far as the spray patterns go, there's actual RNG in there, which in Counter-Strike everything has a pattern that you can master. In Valorant, so far with the 80 or so hours I've spent, it seems really fucking hard to control the RNG that comes after about like the fifth or sixth bullet. At that point, you're just rolling the dice. There's a few things you can do to manipulate it a little bit better, but it does seem like there is just inherent RNG with the spray patterns, which I'm not too big of a fan of. I prefer in Counter-Strike where everything can be learned and mastered to the point where you are a fucking laser beam with every gun for the most part. I don't see that happening with Valorant, at least not with these RNG bullets kind of just fucking come shotting out occasionally during your spray. But I really think there is nothing lazy about the gameplay in Valorant. It is very clearly trying to be the best version of Counter-Strike it can be. One thing that I like more in Valorant than CSGO, probably like the only thing I'd say is better in Valorant than in CSGO, is abilities over grenades. And that maybe just be a personal bias because I spent so much time with Counter-Strike back in the day. I'm just so fucking tired of the same grenades and the same angles that you need to spend 100 of hours labbing to get the right angle. And just after a while, it's just boring. I'm very fucking tired of the grenades in Counter-Strike, you know, flashing here, smoking there, and always using the same shit. In Valorant, maybe because it's just new, but the abilities feel so fresh with so much versatility, and since there's a bunch of different heroes, agents to choose from, there's a lot of different strategy that can be involved in a team comp. You can mix and match abilities to synergize with one another, and it can always be constantly changing depending on the strategies you want to run. Whereas in Counter-Strike, it is still just these static set of grenades. So I think the abilities offer a lot more fun factor, and in general, a lot more versatility just because there's so much more of it and so much different synergy with each other. That being said, not every agent ability in Valorant is created equal. A lot of them are geared towards just utility. In fact, that all of them, except for one agent, is geared towards utility, Raze. You see a lot of complaints about Raze, and rightfully so. I don't know why the fuck she's even in the game with her current kit. Every single one of her abilities does damage. She just has cluster grenades and a rocket. However, I will say in a patch note, they did address some of these things and they made the grenades better. She used to have 2. Now she only has 1 that charges back if she gets 2 kills. So they do have good ways of balancing these things, and they're clearly listening, but I still don't understand the point of why everything she has does damage. The only thing I think fits her kit really well is the satchel and maybe the boombot. The other two, the grenades and the rocket, it just seems like there's no place for it in Valorant when every other ability from the agents is geared towards zone control, vision, or just general utility. But I'd be lying if I said Raze wasn't my favorite agent. She's just mindlessly fun to go in there and toss grenades all over the place, have that shit raining down doomsday over a building because the grenades cluster in the air and split apart, and you can just get some cheeky kills that way. It's goofy, it's fun, but I don't think it really has a place in Valorant. That's like the only thing I'd say in the game truly feels a little broken, and they are addressing it, they are listening, which brings me to my next good thing in Valorant's favor. Riot Games has always shown a lot of support for their titles with constant updates. While they might not always get the balancing right, especially when it comes to something like League of Legends, they are constantly issuing hot fixes, patches, addressing things, and they give the games a lot of attention. That is something Valorant is going to stand to benefit from greatly. It's in closed beta right now, and they've already rolled out a patch for Raze and some other problems that were addressed. That is outstanding. That is fucking great. That's the precedent you want to set. Like, we are going to give this game a lot of attention, and we will address these problems. So that is 100% fantastic. But now let's move on to the maps. There's 3 maps in the closed beta, and I think one of them is utter dog shit. I'm talking, of course, about Split. I think Split is just a very bad map. That is my least favorite by far. Even the map with 3 sites is more fun than Split. I actually think the map with 3 sites so far hasn't been too bad. Even though on paper it seems ridiculous to have a 3-site map in a game like this, it actually has been working pretty well, and I think it's mainly because of abilities giving you so many more options to hold like that. But Split is just not a fun map to play on. I think it's the weakest map of the 3, and hopefully there'll be some changes they make to it when the full game comes out, because as it currently stands, there's not a whole lot of people that defend Split as a good map because it is so one-sided. Now, I absolutely cannot make this Moist Meter in Progress without talking about Riot's anti-cheat. The anti-cheat has been the most controversial thing about the game, probably the biggest hang-up and biggest sore spot for most players in the world. For those that don't know, Riot's anti-cheat has kernel access to your computer. For those that don't know, that's bad. Without getting into the specifics, that's very bad. Some ordinary gamers, Mutahar made a great video talking about it, so if you're interested in learning more about why the kernel access for the anti-cheat is a bad thing, check that out. But what I have to say about that is, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, I have nothing good to say about that. I'm sure there's other ways to maybe combat cheats, and there's nothing that proves right now that having that kernel access is making it any better than all of the other anti-cheats out there. However, I will say in my experience, I've only come across 2 hackers in this game, and in both games, the game was shut down almost immediately because it had detected a hacker. So it is detecting the hackers, but I mean, the hacks still exist. So, it remains to be seen what they do with this anti-cheat, if they maybe, change it in some way or make it less, fucking ham-fisted into your computer. I don't know, but I don't like the anti-cheat. I don't think a whole lot of people are going to say, yeah, I'm totally fine with it having kernel access, because it's not. That's just very intrusive and just way too invasive. I get why they wanted to make this incredible anti-cheat, because games like Counter-Strike get a whole lot of hacks around them, and they want it to be as competitive and tight and as honorable and honest as possible without people cheating their way to the top. But I think they went way too hard here. I mean, this anti-cheat has access to all your shit. I wouldn't be surprised if it started pulling up your SAT scores mid-game just to shame you in front of the other players, or pull up like embarrassing family photos or some shit. It has way too much control. So I guess just kind of to wrap up here, as in conclusion, I think Valorant is a lot of fun. I used to be a big Counter-Strike player a few years back, but I've totally lost interest in it and just burnt myself out on Counter-Strike. Valorant has reignited that fire in my asshole. I've been really enjoying Valorant, streaming the shit out of it, just having a whole ton of fun playing it and getting better, learning when and where to use the abilities in best ways and most creative ways of using them. It's been a really fun experience so far. It does have its problems, and like I said, I really don't like the way the game looks at all. I do get that a lot of it is just stock placeholders and shit, but even still, it doesn't look good. But it feels fucking great. It's a game that I don't think its fun factor gets conveyed through video. I think it's a game that's fun when you play, but it gets written off if you're only watching. So by having the only way you can get access to the closed beta be through watching, kind of shoots it in the foot a little bit. Yeah, it generates hype for a lot of people, but other people that aren't already a Counter-Strike, veteran, they might not see how it could be fun by just watching a stream on it, which is a bit of a shame. Hopefully they'll release an open beta so everyone can at least try it since it's free to play. And I think a lot of people will be surprised at how fun it is. It does have a lot of problems, but right now I'd say Valorant's probably the most fun shooter I've played in quite a while. I am still a big fan of Rainbow Six Siege, but I've got to say I've been having a lot more fun on Valorant recently. So again, I'm not going to be assigning a score to this since it's a beta and constantly changing, like they just rolled out a new patch. So there'll be no score. These were just the Moist Meter thoughts on Valorant. And when the full game comes out, we'll do a full Moist Meter talking about the entire package that they released. But for now, that's about it. So yeah.